Alrighty, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's make sure we fix our sound here real quick. Everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, good. All right. So, welcome everybody. By the way, this is Saving Africa Uncensored. Okay, my name is Ibrahim, and I am the presenter of the Ibrahim Fauna Talk Show. Saving Africa Uncensored. We have to redeem Africa. Listen, I don't have much time today, so what I really want to do is let's talk about this. Sierra Leoneans should call for boundary delimitation now. What is boundary delimitation? This is what I want to call every Sierra Leonean's attention to, because this is very crucial. This is very important. As of this moment, we don't have our constituencies alive, and we have to bring our constituencies alive. And this is not to foster or push the 2028 elections or whatever nonsense is going on, because we all know we're still talking about the June 24th, 2023 elections. But I'm just talking about future elections altogether as a whole. We have a responsibility to ensure that our boundaries, our constituencies are alive. Again, I'm saying all of these things because I want everybody to understand that it's very crucial for us to have representation that is of the people, because that is what democracy is all about. So it is very, very important for everybody to understand this truth. And this is why I'm calling for a boundary delimitation, so that we can have the constituencies alive again, because without doing a boundary delimitation, our constituencies are dead. And I can show you that, guys, this very clearly, because it's in the Constitution, so you guys would see exactly what I'm talking about. And I want you all to see it. But this is the Constitution, and we're going to read it together. All right? We're going to read the Constitution together. I want you guys to pay attention and see why I'm calling for boundary delimitation. It is for future elections in Sierra Leone, because we all know Marabia is going to hand over power to Dr. Samora Kamara at some point. We all know that. It's a fact, because, the tripartite reports came out. Everything is very clear and sacrosanctly there. It's going to hand over power. But future elections, I want to call Sierra Leoneans' attention now to prepare for the future, that we have to have our boundaries, all right? We have to have our constituencies, because without boundary delimitation, the delineation, we will not be able to have our constituencies. So, for example, constituency 110, along Peninsula, right? It's a constituency. It is not alive right now. So when you hear these guys talking about the one-party state system and this and that and all that stuff, that is exactly what they are hinting at. But what we Sierra Leoneans are not paying attention to is the fact that there are no boundaries like right now. There are no constituencies existing right now, because the last boundary delimitation was done in 2017. And these boundaries have a lifespan of 5 to 7 years. So let me read it for you too. Let me show you guys the Constitution right here, because it's very important for you guys to see this, okay? So let's read this Constitution together, so you guys would be on the same page with me. And by the way, this is section 38, all right? So section 38, as you can see, all right? Subsection 4 is where I want to read. But by the way, let me do it this way. Since we have it, I'm going to start from the top. Sierra Leone shall be divided into such constituencies for the purpose of electing the members of parliament, referred to in paragraph B of subsection 1 of section 74 of this constitution, as the Electoral Commission, acting with the approval of parliament, signified by resolution of parliament, may prescribe. Now, section 2, subsection 2. Every constituency established under this section, right? You can see my cursor here. Every constituency established under this section shall have one member of parliament, right? Every constituency comes with a member of parliament. Now, subsection 3, it says the boundaries of each constituency, let me scroll down a bit. The boundaries of each constituency shall be such that the number of inhabitants thereof is as nearly equal to the population quota as is reasonably practicable. Okay? Right now, okay? Then subsection 3 continues all the way there. It says, provided that the number of inhabitants of such a constituency may be greater or less than the population quota, in order to take account of means of communications, geographical features, density of population, the distribution of different communities, the areas and boundaries of the chiefdom and other administrative, traditional areas. Now, this is the most important part, subsection 4 of section 38, all right? So subsection 4, the Electoral Commission shall review the division of Sierra Leone into constituencies at intervals of not less than 5 and not more than 7 years, and may alter the constituencies in accordance with the provisions of this section to such extent as it may consider desirable in the light of the review. And this is the part I want you guys to pay attention to, section 38, subsection 4. It is the crucial part that I want you guys to pay attention to. The reason why I want you to pay attention to this is, if you focus on they're giving all these sidebars right now to have these side conversations. You see the illegal Speaker of Parliament talking about power sharing and all of that. They want to use the proportional representation. That is what they want to use continuously now moving forward, because they know that takes away the power from the people. And what they're hinting to is to get us back to what happened, 1965 with Albert Magai, and then Sheikh Stevens, capitalized on Albert Magai's stupid mistake of having a one-party state system, because again, SLPP and APC at this point in time, they're together, especially the corrupt segment. You guys know what I'm talking about, excluding the Alfred Peter Conte and excluding Dr. Zabura Kamara, right? But we know there's the corrupt element, the executive, they've moved on, the members of parliament, they are in bed with the SLPP. What they want is a one-party state system, and continue to share power after every 10 years. This one comes, they loot the resources. The next one comes, loots the resources. APC, SLPP, APC, SLPP. They've taken the people of Sierra Leone for granted. So that is what they're hinting towards, a one-party state system, which is why they're not talking about boundary delimitation. And like I said earlier when I started this conversation, I told you all that the last boundary delimitation was done in 2017, and those boundaries were good up until November last year, 2024. Because 5 years from 2017 was 2022. So going into the elections, there was no point in even using the proportional representation system. Because again, at the time when the president announces the election, as long as constituencies exist, there is no point in using, the proportional representation system, which was made very clear in section 38A of the Constitution, right? So these are all the things that they don't want you guys to know about, but we keep educating and sensitizing you guys. But again, the focus is to ensure that we have our boundaries again, because the boundaries are dead at this point. So if they keep talking about, proportional representation, if we get close to an election in the future, let's assume, say, 2028. If we get to 2028 elections, if they haven't done a boundary delimitation, then there are no constituencies. So the default is going to be proportional representation. Let me speak this in Creole for my brothers and sisters so they can understand this. The people that are in the provinces. I'm going to speak my local patois, Creole. What they are doing, what they do right now, the constituency don't expires in Sierra Leone. Then guy there, they want to consolidate the power to themselves. They want to take the power away from the people. That is why they want the proportional representation. Because now the party, the people, they go to parliament. So it enable a lot of bribery and corruption. On a members of parliament, they go pay for any party, put the name there, how they want, at the top of the list and stuff like that. The party gets total control over who they go to parliament. Now make get a bunch of useless people that are not qualified for dinner parliament. But we don't get boundaries them like right now. We don't get the boundaries them, they don't expire. So we don't get constituencies them right now. And the only way for them to get the constituencies, they have to do a boundary delimitation again. Because the constituency don't expire after November last year, 2024. Because they take up to 7 years before they expire. And if they expire, we don't do boundary delimitation, then there's no point. We know they get constituencies, which means say the default will be the proportional representation. And when I know say we don't want the proportional representation, Sierra Leoneans don't want another rebel war. Because the proportional representation leads to war again. Because we know how these members of parliament, they abandon the people completely, and then continue for just do what they want for do. Then they, ask, then they take. You cannot say anything to a member of parliament because they will tell you, so you put me there and a party send me there. When I know the proportional representation, they work. Not like the constituency, when I know say the members of parliament, they can ask for a vote in a constituency. If they not be work better, when I know give them the position, they don't give them power. And that is why I'm calling you guys your attention. And I want to share this with you guys because so you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. This is the statistics their website. This is their page. And I think it's you guys could, if you want to, visit their website, you could do that. But this is the Statistics Sierra Leone's website. All right. So you guys can see it here. And if you look, it says newly appointed, General CEO of Statistics Sierra Leone. So we know now this guy in the Africana different colors, he was the former statistician. We helped for rig, the foolish midterm census and all that nonsense. This is the new one, that took over from that one day. All right. So we know say his name is Andrew Bob Johnny. That is his name. The new statistician, that took over from that guy, from Professor, whatever his name was. So Statistics Sierra Leone is now under the leadership of Andrew Bob Johnny, who is the newly appointed Statistician General and CEO of Statistics Sierra Leone. Andrew Bob Johnny, who has worked for Statistics Sierra Leone for 29 plus years and garnered a lot of institutional memory, took over office in the official handing over ceremony from his predecessor, Professor Usman Sankor Malam. So you guys need to know that, right? So, Andrew Bob Johnny is the new Statistician General, and he's the one that is supposed to conduct the boundary delimitation and the census and whatever the case is. As you guys can see, if you play around with the tabs, you can see, look at the foolish 2021 midterm population census that was condemned widely across the world. I know they planned this 2026 census, but we'll see what happens, right? See, the last census was 2015. The next one would have been 2025, but it came with a midterm census, all kinds of nonsense because they wanted to rig the elections. But this is the website for Statistics Sierra Leone. I want to share that with you. And I want you guys to understand that what we should be asking for right now is, the reestablishment, the delineation again of, our boundaries, because they've expired as of 2024, November last year. So no matter what kinds of arguments you hear them, don't get distracted with those arguments of them talking about, want to use proportional representation, of them saying we're traveling across the country to seek the advice and, consent of Sierra Leoneans because, the people of Sierra Leone want proportional representation. The people of Sierra Leone do not want proportional representation because they know it's going to take us down the path again of a rebellion, a rebel war like the one that Ali Kaba, who's SLPP, these guys are in power now. Most of the RAF rebels are in power right now. Most of the former, guys that caused the mayhem and destruction in Sierra Leone, the Kamajors, they are the ones that are in power now. So, they want to bring the same reoccurrence again down the road. That is why they're calling for a one-party state system. And we in Sierra Leoneans that are very patriotic to our nation, that love our country, we're looking back at precedents, we're looking back at the history of what has actually happened. We don't want to have a one-party state system. We want to have a constituency-based system where the people elect their leaders and the representation is of the people. The people can question the leadership. They can question the members of parliament. They can request assistance from their members of parliament. Because again, it's not the responsibility of members of parliament to build schools and build hospitals. But they use this as a way of keeping the people captive. When you look at people like Abdul Kagbo, he has a school in Lunge. Why? Because he has not been able to get the government to direct the resources that the people in that community need so that they can build their own schools. The government can build the schools because it is the responsibility of the government to build schools. Education, section 9 of the Constitution. Go read it. 8, 9, 10. Yeah, it talks. All of these talks about education at the primary level free. It shouldn't be a slogan, just some buzzword. It's in the Constitution that they should provide, education at that level. But I just want to point this out to you guys that we don't have boundaries right now. We don't have constituencies existing right now. And they are deliberately going to avoid that conversation if you don't bring that conversation up, because they want to use the proportional representation moving forward. And we all know the proportional representation is very disadvantageous. It is not for the people. It is against the will of the people, especially in a country like Sierra Leone, where we don't have leaders that have moral values. You take other countries in Europe, Germany, they use the proportional representation, but everything is working in Germany. There's electricity, there's roads, there's education, there's healthcare. So the people don't have to worry much about it. But in Sierra Leone, we know these guys are actually using the proportional representation to deliberately ignore the desires and core of the people, what the people want, because now they get lazy, they get comfortable, they sit down and don't even have to worry about anything, because people cannot ask them questions, right? And this is the problem that we have, and this is why people like myself are calling your attention. Say the most important conversation that we should be talking about is having the delimitation, boundary delimitation again, so that we can reactivate the constituencies, because as of now, every constituency that in Sierra Leone is dead. And we want to reactivate these constituencies so we can bring back the constituency-based elections. That is what I want to share with you, and that is what I want you guys to know about, and that is what is very important and crucial. If you guys see, Marabio is busy traveling. This guy is living the best time of his life right now. Look at him right here. Just Marabio, all over the place. As chairman of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of ECOWAS, I had a very productive meeting with my brother, His Excellency Alassane Ouattara, in Abidjan. We discussed important issues impacting a sub-region and expressed a commitment to enhancing collaboration as a regional bloc. Together, we are dedicated to fostering great security, stability, and economic prosperity for all. This man is having the best time of his life. He is just traveling. Look at all of these photos with Alassane Ouattara. I guess they are holding a meeting, to see how they can get rid of Ibrahim Traore, But this is the guys. These are the puppets of Africa now. Look at your puppets right here. These are the puppets in our African nations. And that is what Julius Marabio is up to. You look at his Twitter page. The man, like I said again, is just having the best time of his life, man. Best time of his life. It was in Ghana the other day. Is ECOWAS paying for these trips, or it's coming from the comforts of the government of Sierra Leone? Again, I was in Ghana to sympathize with the Ghanaian people, right? I stood alongside my brother, Chief Murna, President Mahama, government officials, and the heartbroken families, as we took a moment, to remember the 8 precious lives lost in the tragic helicopter crash. Look at him again here, having the best moments of his life. Look at him. Best moments of his life. So this is what we're talking about, right? This guy they don't care. Marabio does not care about what's happening in the country. He does not care about the sufferings of the people. Look at him again. It was this was in Ghana again. It was in Togo. Look at him in Togo. You all remember what has happened in Togo recently, right? With the killing of protesters, barbarically the police officers killing them. He has gone there to say thank you to the Togolese president. I am in Togo. This was, when was this one? August 8th. I was in Togo meeting with my friend, His Excellency Fore Isozimna Yasingbe. Right, we are committed, to strengthening regional cooperation for heightened security and economic prosperity in our regional bloc. As chairman of the Authority of Heads of State and Government, I will contribute to work with member states as we pursue stronger regional integration and reinforce a thriving ECOWAS. Look at him here. Not talk anything about the protests, the killing of citizens, because he himself has been killing his own citizens in Sierra Leone. Look at him with the president of Togo. This man is just living the best life right now. This is what is happening. But one day reality will strike, right? But these are the realities of the ground, and I'm doing this live again to tell you all, say, pay attention. What we need is boundary delimitation at this point, so that we can redraw, the constituencies them, because as it is in Sierra Leone, we don't have constituencies, and if we allow these guys time go, and they have elections, then they're going to default to the proportional representation. And we all know that the APC is in bed with these guys. They're all on the same boat. They're all on the same agenda, because you all remember going into the June 24th, 2023 elections, that was why they introduced the proportional representation system, because they knew we were prepared to have candidates to contest and challenge them in each of those constituencies. That was why they decided to go with the proportional representation. So the whole thing about the court, it was all a charade, just to, at least they don't want to violate the constitution so blatantly, because they know that at the time when the president is announcing elections, that there should, if the constituencies exist, there is no reason to use the proportional representation. So we know that for a fact, and they've been trying to evade, and circumvent the constitution and play games. We have to keep talking about these things. So if I read again for you guys right here, if I read section if I read this section 5, where I want you guys to track with me. Tracking with me right here, section 5. Where the boundaries of any constituency are altered in accordance with the provisions of this section, that alteration shall come into effect upon the next dissolution of Parliament after the alteration has been approved by Parliament. So in this section 6, it talks about quota for the purposes, section 7, for the purposes of this section, the number of inhabitants, blah, blah, blah. 8, the registration of voters and the conduct of election in every constituency shall be subject to the direction and supervision of the Electoral Commission, blah, blah, blah. All of that, right? So, but I just want you all to know, there is the other version of the Constitution that has section 38A that is very crucial and important that we want to share with you guys. But for some reason, let me see. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull that up real quick, because that's the one that I really want. Not this one, not this version. Let me see. I want section 38A. But yeah, that is what every Sierra Leonean should be calling about right now, to check, to ensure that, you know, we call for boundary delimitation, because otherwise these guys would capitalize on that. The 1991 version. Yeah. Gosh. But yeah, the 1991 Constitution is the one that actually, you know, let me see. Why? Yeah. I have it saved on my OneDrive here, but let me see. I've seen the version that I want. Okay, let me show you guys. I want to really show you section 38A. I want you guys to see and have a feel for what I'm talking about. Beautiful. All right, let me put this on the screen for you guys. This is the section of the Constitution that I want to share with you all. And I know this is not the first time I've actually shared this Constitution with you all. All right. Now, let's see section 38A1. All right. Section 38A1. Let's read it together. Where under any law for the time being in force, a date for a general election of members of Parliament has been appointed by constituencies, but constituencies have not been established in accordance with subsection 3 of section 38. For the purposes of such election, the President may, after consultation with the Electoral Commissioner or the Electoral Commission, direct that such election shall be conducted on the basis of the existing districts in a manner to be known as the district block representation system instead of constituencies. This is the part that I want you guys to focus on. This is it right here. And that is why I'm calling you all as Sierra Leoneans to pay attention and focus, that we should be calling for the boundary delimitation to take place. You see, because this right here now, because the constituencies are dead, they are not alive, because Statistics Sierra Leone has not done the boundary delimitation. If the president announced elections, then definitely, because those constituencies are not alive, then they use the district block system, where we don't want. So that is what it's important for you guys to pay attention to it. And this is section 38A. This was the amendment that was done to the Constitution. All right. So in the district block representation system, the election shall be contested in each specified district by political parties for the block or number of seats in Parliament allocated to the district by or under an act of Parliament and the political parties. So we don't want that. We don't want the district block system, right? We want constituency-based elections. So you see, this says, where under any law for the time being in force, a date for a general election of members of Parliament has been appointed, but constituencies have not been established. You don't see? So if they call for election and constituencies are not established right now as it is, the constituencies are not established. If they announce election date and the constituencies are not there, then we default to the district block proportional representation system. We don't want that. We want the constituency based. So every Sierra Leonean should call now for the boundary delimitation to be done so that we can have our constituencies back alive, because as of now, they've expired. All right. So again, that is what I really want you guys to see. And that is what I really want you guys to understand. This is the most important part, is section 38A4. However, you see in section 38.4, because you have section 38 and you have section 38A. So in section 38, as you can see here, 38.4 is section 38.4. Let me read it. The Electoral Commission shall review the division of Sierra Leone into constituencies at intervals of not less than 5 and not more than 7 years, and may alter the constituencies in accordance with the provisions of this section to such extent as it may consider desirable in the light of the review, provided that the Commission may at any time carry out such a review. So we can read this on and on and on, but really the rest not important. But it is the fact that constituencies have a lifespan of 5 to 7 years, and right now they have expired. November 2024 was 7 years since the last boundary delimitation was done, which was in 2017. So right now there are no constituencies existing. So with all the talk that they are talking about, one party state system, power sharing, we want to use proportional representation, or we're consulting across the country, they are resolute. They've set their minds on using the proportional representation system. But what nobody's talking about, and if these guys in parliament are serious, and if they are authentic, and if they are real, what they should be talking about is to ensure that we have boundary delimitation again, as stated in section 38.4. Right? Section 38.4. Because section 38.4 prepares you for section 38A4. Right? Because section 38A4 is what talks about, that the fact that actually section 32, 1, section 38A1, it talks about where under any law by the time being in force, a date for general election of members of parliament has been appointed, but constituencies have not been established in accordance with subsection 3 of section 38. So you see how the Constitution lays everything out? This is what I want you guys to see, and this is what I want you guys to understand. So this is the fact. Section 38A3, which talks about boundaries right here. The boundaries of each constituency shall be such that the number of inhabitants thereof is as nearly equal to the population. But again, section 38.3, section 38.4 is what is important. Section 38.4 and section 38A1. If you don't pay attention to anything, look at section 38.4, which talks about, the fact that, if the Electoral Commission shall review the division of Sierra Leone into constituencies at intervals of not less than 5 years and not more than 7 years. All right? That is what is crucial, and that is what is important, and that is what I want you guys to pay attention to. So section 38A, section 38.4 talks about how the frequency of revisiting our boundary delimitation, and section 38A1 talks about the fact that at the time when elections are announced, if the constituencies don't exist, then they will default to district block system. So we have to call on everybody to say we want Statistics Sierra Leone to conduct the boundary delimitation so that we can have our constituencies alive. Because once the constituencies are alive, it is difficult for Marabio to announce elections, future elections, and prescribe again, the proportional representation system. Because if he does that, it's contravening the Constitution. It's going against the Constitution, because the Constitution again make it very clear, say, for as long as the constituencies exist at the time when they are announcing elections, there is no point for use the district block system. The only time they go use the district block system of proportional representation is if the constituencies don't exist. And I understand the logic. I want you guys to understand these basics. So this is what we should be calling about now. The fact that Statistics Sierra Leone should conduct boundary delimitation again to delineate so that we can have constituencies that are alive and well, that can be used in future elections. Because otherwise, if they don't do the boundary delimitation, then they are just going to default, which is what they are preparing themselves for now. They would just default into using the proportional representation, because they'll come back and tell you that, oh, well, we did not do a boundary delimitation, so we don't have any constituencies. And the constituencies have expired last year, November 2024. I hope you understand. I don't know if I can make this any simpler than I have made it, but I just wanted to share with you guys this, and I'll leave it right here. I did not intend to do a long live today. All right? Bye-bye, everybody. And thank you guys for joining me. All right. Have a good evening, everybody.